Netcasts you love.
From people you trust.
This is Twit.
Hi, this is Leo Laporte, and this is my Tech Guy podcast. This show originally aired on the Premier Radio Network on Sunday, October 7th, 2018. This is episode 1530. Enjoy. The Tech Guy podcast brought to you by WordPress. Reach more customers when you build your business website on WordPress.com. Plans start at just $4 a month, and you'll get 15% off any new plan at WordPress.com/TechGuy. And by Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Introducing Rate Shield Approval. If you're in the market to buy a home, Rate Shield Approval locks up your rate for up to 90 days while you shop. It's a real game changer. Learn more and get started at rocketmortgage.com/techguy. And by Prylock Security. Prylock offers a best-of-breed security training platform that can automatically create, enroll, manage, deliver, track, and report your phishing tests and security briefings. Go to prylock.com/twit and use the promo code LEO to save 30%. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the Tech Guy. Yes, it's time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, you know, all that jazz, the stuff with chips in it. Whether they come from China or elsewhere. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number, 888-827-5536. Toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. I say that, I'm making a little joke, whether they come from China or elsewhere, because strangest, I talked about this last show, I don't, if you didn't hear, strangest thing going on in the tech world. On Thursday, Bloomberg Business Week, which is very reliable, among tech sources, among the most reliable, published a story clearly well-researched with many sources, all anonymous, but still, you know, sources in Apple and Amazon and even three-letter agencies in the U.S. government saying that China had hacked motherboards from a company called Supermicro, and that these motherboards were being widely used all over the country, including in the Department of Defense. They'd put a little tiny chip on the motherboard, size of a grain of rice. There are lots of chips on your motherboard. Is the big circuit board in the computer. Sometimes they call it the logic board. It's got a lot of little support chips on there, not just the microprocessor and the graphics processor, but there's little tiny chips there, you know, amplifiers and things, and they snuck it in there. I think it appeared as some sort of support chip, but instead it was, according to this story, modifying the operating system. Once the operating system booted up on these motherboards, on these computers, modified it to phone the Chinese military, and to exfiltrate secrets, and to take, be under the command of the Chinese military. I mean, this is a terrifying notion. And of course, since most of our electronics are built in China, particularly terrifying. And Bloomberg Business Week had it well sourced. Then the next day, on Friday, Apple and Amazon and even the Chinese government denied it unequivocally, like thoroughly, like with every ounce of strength that they had. And then I think on Saturday, the U.S. intelligence community said, no, that didn't happen. Well, wait a minute. Let's get it right. The Department of Homeland Security said on Saturday it has no, well, now this maybe is a little bit of a giveaway, currently had no reason to doubt statements for companies that have denied a Bloomberg report. Same thing from the UK, the National Cybersecurity. That's kind of a lukewarm. Actually, now that I read it, kind of a lukewarm. No, we have no reason currently. We have no reason to doubt it. Bloomberg cited 17 unidentified anonymous sources in the intelligence and companies saying that Chinese spies had placed computer chips inside equipment used by about 30 companies as well as multiple U.S. government agencies. The British National Cybersecurity Agency said, we have no reason to doubt that Apple and Amazon are telling the truth. Now I'm really suspicious. Now I'm really suspicious. No, we have no reason. That's a very weak denial. If you use Windows 10, perhaps you've heard that there's a new feature update coming. Windows 10 has monthly security patches, bug fixes, that kind of thing. They call it Patch Tuesday. In fact, Tuesday is Patch Tuesday. Last Tuesday, Microsoft said, all right, they had a big event to show off new hardware, new Surface Pros, new Surface laptops and studios and so forth. And at the event, they said, and today we're proud to say we will begin pushing out the new feature update. They call it 1809 because it's in the September 2018, except it's October, but it's close enough, so that's 1809. Last one was 1803, but it came out in May, so 1805. But anyway, don't pay no attention to the numbers. That's not the most important thing. The most important thing is this. They do these a couple of times a year on Windows 10. Remember, they said Windows 10 is the last version of Windows. We're not going to ship a Windows 11. We're just going to keep updating, keep improving Windows 10, and we're going to do that 2 or 3 times a year. It's turned out to be really 2 times a year with these big feature updates. Except that almost immediately people started saying, whoa, I installed the feature update, it deleted all my documents. One guy on the Microsoft support board said, I had 220 gigabytes of documents in my documents folder. It's gone. Gone. That doesn't seem like good behavior. But it also seems weird because Microsoft has tested this, as they have in the past, with millions of people. The current, 1809 has been tested for 6 months. They're testing the next one already with these people who volunteer. Maybe you're one of them. It's the Windows Insider program. You'd think if this thing did that, except maybe the installer is the last piece of the puzzle, right? Maybe they hadn't been really testing the installer. So maybe they did, forget to test it thoroughly. I don't know. Anyway, Microsoft says, whoops, and they have pulled back 1809. So you won't be able to get 1809 if you were all excited about it. Probably few people had it. The way it generally works, it was assumed that Microsoft wasn't going to start kind of saying, you know how they do that with pop-ups. Hey, there's a new version of Windows. Want to install it? Until Patch Tuesday. So then the people who got it were what Microsoft calls seekers. I am a seeker. I am a seeker of truth, of wisdom, and of Windows updates. And I got it because if you went to Windows Update and actively said, what's up? What's new? Anything new? It would say, well, yeah, there's this new feature update. You want it? I installed it on at least 3 computers. My Lenovo that I have in front of me, the T470S, last year's laptop. I installed it on a Surface Go, the new little mini Surface that Microsoft put out a couple of months ago. I installed it on my big Surface Studio, the all-in-one. No problems. As far as I know, no documents deleted. But some people did have that problem. Unknown why. I hope you didn't. And don't worry, Microsoft is pausing, they say. That's the word. They're not pulling it back. They're not withdrawing it. They're pausing. Pausing it. Nothing to fear here. We had the iPhone announcement. That's usually the big fall announcement, right? In August, Samsung announced the Note 9. Very nice phone. There's another shoe to drop. Typically in October, Google will announce its new stuff. And yes, Tuesday, Google is having an event in New York City. Hashtag made by Google. There's really I think there will be no surprises here. We've been looking at the Google Pixel 3. Leaks have been coming out for months. I just read a review of it. It hasn't even announced yet. Apparently a Hong Kong retailer had one and sold it to an Engadget reviewer, and so he's reviewed it. It's pretty clearly the real deal. It's very nicely packaged, solid, and so forth. Nothing to see here. It's nothing surprising. We'll also, I think, get a new Chrome OS powered. They're going to call it, all the leaks say, Pixel Slate. It'll be a tablet. You can add a keyboard too. A Pixelbook 2, an update to Chromecast, and perhaps something people are calling the Home Hub. Home Hub. Everybody's got a Home Hub now. We live in this kind of siloed world where if you want to automate your home, you get to choose. Do you want Samsung to do it? Do you want Apple to do it? Do you want Google to do it? Do you want Amazon to do it? You pick. But then once you pick, you made a choice. You're in the family. You're one of us. So we'll see what Google has to offer. They don't really have a hub quite yet. This is their chance. They got the assistant, right? 8888 Ask Leo. Those are the big stories of the week. There's more. But really, I know you care more about what's going on in your life, and so do I. So give me a ring. If you have a problem to share, a question, a solution, an answer, 8888 Ask Leo, 888-827-5536. When we talk, of course, the answers are all posted on the website. I should tell you that, too. It's free, it's open, it's widely available to all at no charge or sign up at techguylabs.com, techguylabs.com. All right, let's take a little time out here, give you a chance to collect your thoughts, comb your hair, and call 8888 Ask Leo. Let's get you on the air. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy, 8888. Ask Leo. We'll make this the Kim Schaffer theme song. Sweet Child, Oh Mine.
I love this song.
It's a good song.
Brings me back to my
Ute.
my ute with my brother playing music way too loud and knocking my figurines off my shelves.
vibrating the Beanie Babies off. Oh,
the
man.
Screaming matches that went on in that household because of his music.
That's a good one to play really loud because of that opening guitar.
And that I didn't mind. It was some of the really heavy metal stuff, that the head banging awful.
Isn't it funny that the songs that we thought were so kind of outrageously, loud and bad 30 or 20 years ago actually sound very melodic compared to some of the stuff today, right? Things get more melodic over time, I guess.
You've got the speaking rap that is just offensive. So
Well, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, hello, Kim. How are you? Good to see you. Welcome.
Good.
You've been answering the phone since the wee hours of the morning, preparing. Well, actually, there's only one call, so you haven't been working that hard.
I wasn't going to say that, but I was leaving it to you.
Why is there only
It's
one call?
Football. Sundays.
The NFL.
Football. It's going to kill us.
No, I love football. But
I liked it when we had a good
fortunately,
team.
real nerds don't like sport ball.
No, they don't.
So
But
all
I
you
guess
real
they
nerds,
can't listen,
you need to call.
Yeah, real
Yeah.
nerds, it is your chance now.
Here's your opportunity.
Here's your opportunity.
Who should I, as if I didn't know, who should I talk
I think
to?
you should just talk to Mark.
Okay.
Mark in Santa Ana.
Okay.
Somehow he's able to listen.
He
He's
can
probably
listen.
online.
You know what?
Oh, hardly
We're
struggling.
on. I found out the other day something like 280 stations across the country.
Yeah.
Not all of them are playing football. Plus,
No.
this thing called the internet, where you can hear the show anywhere in the world.
Yes.
Surely, in Bulgaria, they're not playing NFL games. Anyway, here we go. Mark. Hello, Mark from Santa Ana, who's listening.
If nobody else calls, we can sing camp songs together.
You might hear crickets.
Yeah. Anyhow, and by the way, I'm betting you that Microsoft thing is a compiler error.
A compiler error.
Yeah, think about it. What it basically is, I think, is just doing not an upgrade, but you know how they have the advanced and the regular, and one is wipe out all your stuff.
Maybe somebody pushed the wrong button. You're saying click the wrong check mark.
Either that, or you've done enough programming to know that sometimes the compiler decides to do something unplanned.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, but you would think. If that's the case, wouldn't somebody have run it at least once before saying, "Here, have it, everybody"? Somebody should have noticed that. I know Microsoft has lots of testing. It's very hard to imagine what went wrong. The real problem Microsoft has is that, unlike Apple, where there's a handful of machines that run Apple, all of them run Mac OS, all of them made by Apple, so they know that testing's fairly easy. With Microsoft, there's thousands of PC manufacturers. Every machine has some sort of different, configuration of hardware and other programs running on it. And you're installing a challenging thing, which is to install a big upgrade on an in-place operating system. So it is not an easy thing to do. And I think what's happened probably, more likely, is it worked for me. It worked for most people. But some people had some sort of oddball thing running that somehow interacted poorly with the installer. You're right. The installer shouldn't have done that. But
right. Well, as Uncle Leo always says, there's so many millions of combinations
that's the problem.
And anybody's 200 and whatever gig data loss is going to be big news.
Well, it is big. Yeah, that's right. When you have a billion users, if even 1/1000th of 1% of them have problems, that's thousands of people. So.
Yep. Okay, so my question is got an Android 256 gig S8, and I would like to just download all my email on it and be able to search it nicely. The only problem is, so far I've tried a couple different email programs, and about every 20 to 30 emails I got to say, download, show more.
Yeah, and that's not the email program. Are you using Gmail?
No, this is actually a GoDaddy email.
GoDaddy. It's not the email program's fault. It's something GoDaddy's doing. A lot of email servers do this because they don't want you to hit the server real hard and say, give me all 14 gigabytes of my email now. So they throttle it, and they say, well, you can have a certain number of messages at a time.
Okay.
So that's really all that's going on. It's not, so you can try, Android email programs so you're blue in the face, and you still have the same problem because it's not the program itself. It's GoDaddy, and the mail server's doing it. How do you get around it? I don't know. I mean, what I generally will, first of all, IMAP, which is probably the protocol you're using.
Yes.
Isn't really designed for downloading the emails. It's designed for caching and what's on the server, but the server is the definitive store, and that's not on your phone or computer or anything. It's not on your premises. It's on the support, the email provider's premises. So that is, you'll never, IMAP isn't really designed for you to download anything. It just caches it. So if you really want to download it, you should investigate where, and I bet you this is the case, the GoDaddy server will support POP3, which is the old, remember, post office protocol. That allows you to download all the mail and find a POP3 Android email program that will support POP3. I don't know if K9 will do it. That's the most powerful email app I know of on Android. K-9. It's open source. It probably supports POP. So what you put it in POP mode, you use the POP server for GoDaddy instead of the IMAP server, and then you download it. It may still say, oh, you can only have 20, but tomorrow you can get 20 more. Tomorrow, day after that, and over time you can gather all the mail, basically. That's what POP3 is designed for. POP3, the older protocol, was designed for you to log into your mail server, clean it out, and then that was because hard drive space was expensive and ISPs didn't want to keep your mail. Nowadays, because we have many devices, the ISP keeps your mail, and the devices are just a window into the server, if that makes sense.
Yep. Real quick thing.
Yes.
If you don't have any more callers, one quick thing about football. I was at a dinner for my wife's work, and we had like 5 couples. And I said, I can't watch football. It's with 13 minutes compressed into 2.5 to 3 hours. My wife might think I have time to cuddle or do a honey-do list.
It's not nearly engaging enough. You need an action movie if you want to avoid cuddling.
Yep.
No, that's true. It is. It's 11 to 13 minutes of action spread out over a 3-hour period. It's kind of amazing. I do, fortunately, have more calls. Thank goodness.
Yep.
So I appreciate it, Mark. Thank you so much.
Thanks,
keep listening. And, it's true. If you wanted to, you could just TiVo that football game and just watch the whole thing in 13 minutes. That's wild, isn't it? Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More of your calls coming up. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. And Greg's on the line from Homosassa, Florida. Am I saying that right? Homosassa.
Well,
nice to see you.
Yeah. So, well, I wish I could, but it's nice talking to you.
Nice to talk to you. It's just a figure of speech.
Okay. My problem is cable company and its infinite wisdom went all digital, and now they charge you have to have a box for every TV. So I've got smart TVs. I need to extend my Wi-Fi so that I can get Fire Sticks or something like that for the other TVs.
Right. And
they can do it. But I don't know what kind of range extender I need or if there's a better brand
this is
optimizing. The most optimal thing would be to wire the whole house.
Of course, but who's going to do that?
Nobody wants to go in the attic.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. I'm tempted to do that at my house in the crawl space underneath. Here in California, we tend to have no basements, but at least we have little crawl spaces underneath. But then who wants to go under there? That's even worse than the attic. Spiders. Yep. So
or worse.
The cable companies took advantage of the FCC. When the FCC made over-the-air television stations go digital some years ago, and remember there was a big thing about it, and you had to get a digital tuner and stuff, the cable companies pretended that this was a requirement for them too, and took advantage of it, and they all went digital. And there's advantages for them. They can get more signal down the line. You know, analog uses a lot of more bandwidth than just getting digital packets on there. So you get more channels, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But, of course, at this point, what everybody's looking for is to just do it over the top. That's called, when you use the internet to get your television, they call that over the top. You're going over and above your cable company's own offerings in television, saying, I'm going to do it myself on a Fire TV or a Roku or an Apple TV or YouTube TV or whatever.
Sure.
But to do that, you need, first of all, good internet. I presume you're getting that at the router, and then that internet needs to get to all the other TVs in the house, and that can sometimes be a challenge.
Exactly. It's not terrible. My daughter uses her laptop in the back room and streams some stuff, but there's a lot of buffering. And
yeah, what you'll notice on Wi-Fi is the farther you get, the less signal you get. And the less signal you get, the less speed you get. It's a direct correlation. So we want to boost the signal. Now, it depends on what you're using as a Wi-Fi access point. If you're using a modern access point that has 802.11ac, are you?
You're beyond my
Yeah.
scope. But
yeah. How recently did you buy your access?
100 megabytes.
How recently?
It's a decent Wi-Fi. It's not DSL. It's just that they also have the lock on that as well. We're very rural, so the only choice we have is
it's from the cable company.
Wi-Fi.
Got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that makes it more complicated. Now, what I would recommend, and most cable companies will let you do this. I don't know if yours will. Okalaka Falaki Badako cable company. But if they do, the best thing to do is to use their cable modem and provide your own Wi-Fi router.
I did do that. Yeah.
Okay, good. So if their cable modem has a Wi-Fi part of it, a router part of it, just disable that or at least turn off the Wi-Fi radio. If you can turn off the Wi-Fi radio, that'll eliminate signal congestion. And then you have to put the Wi-Fi router in what we call bridge mode. Say, let the cable modem router, because there's still a router in there, decide what IP addresses we all get, but I'm going to use you for Wi-Fi, and that usually works pretty well. Your best way to do this is with the more modern mesh Wi-Fi routers. Eero, a sponsor of ours, is a big name, but there are plenty of these. Orbi from Netgear, Velop from, is that Linksys? I can never remember. There's a whole bunch of strange names for these things. And these mesh routers are designed for challenging Wi-Fi environments. They have a base unit, sometimes the same as all the other units, sometimes different from all the other units. And then they have subunits. Typically, you'll buy a little subunit for every 1,500 square feet. Although if you have a challenging environment with multi-levels, that kind of thing, you might buy more. And these little extra units are like repeaters, but they're better than. So you can get a repeater for your existing non-mesh system, but what will happen is the repeater takes half of the time talking to the router, the base station, and the other half of the time talking to you. So all Wi-Fi extenders cut Wi-Fi speed in half.
Wow.
That's the nature of a Wi-Fi extender because they can't operate in what we call full duplex mode. They can't do two things at once. They can only either talk to the router or talk to you, so that's split in half. The mesh routers have a back channel. This is the main difference. Have a back channel they use to communicate with the base station, and it doesn't slow down. So the mesh routers, and this is why it's the best solution for somebody who's trying to expand their Wi-Fi footprint. And Plume is another one. I use both Plume and Eero in my house. There are lots of companies. All you have to do is look for mesh. The problem is the expense because you're not only buying a base unit, you're going to buy 1 or 2 or 3 extra extenders, and they usually start at $300, and they go up usually around $100, $150 per extender. So you have to.
Yeah, but if they solve the problem,
they really solve the problem. And some of them, most of them have additional features. For instance, the Eeros have, if you pay extra, I think it's $100 a year, Eero Plus, which has filtering, so it keeps your kids off of bad sites. It has things like you can say to your Echo, pause Junior's Wi-Fi, and his will go off. and yours will continue. They have lots of nice features. They have guest networks. They really
do they have any like a timer?
They do.
The problem we have with her, she will be on all night
Yes,
long.
I do this with our teenager. At 10 p.m. on school nights, the router goes off. However, it only goes off for them. Mom and Dad can stay up late because we're grown-ups. Yeah.
That's cool.
So you get the choice.
Yeah, our phone signal, we're rural, so our phone signal is terrible too. So I
Perfect.
back on the Wi-Fi.
Yeah, because that's what a teenager's no fool. He'll pick up his smartphone and say, "Well, that's fine. I'll play a game on here." But if they can't do that, you're golden. Yeah, you assign all the devices in the house if you want. You can or whichever devices you want to individuals, and you could say, pause the teenager's Wi-Fi, and it'll stop. But moms and dads will still work. Lots of things like that. So I like Eero, EERO.
Okay.
That's what I use. Again, they're a sponsor, but that's what I use. I also use a company called Plume, Plume. If speed is everything to you, the Orbi routers, the Orbi routers from Netgear tend to be faster, but they have fewer mesh features. The Eero is really the one that has all the features. I really like the features of the Eero.
What?
They're on Amazon.
She'd like to be, but there's no signal back there. So
yeah, no, it'll help. It's really I have 5 units, so I have the base station plus 4 extenders. They just plug into the wall, and you put in
right. I bought a repeater last Black Friday because it was like $20. I said, "I'll get one, try it." Didn't do a thing.
Yeah,
it was supposed to be like a $70 unit. It was worthless.
Yeah,
but my problem is walls. Going around walls.
Yep. So that's why.
Cool.
So what they have an app. All of these mesh guys are focused on the app, and so the app is how you do all the setups and the passwords and stuff, not the web browser. And the app will help you place the intermediate units. It'll say, no, not getting a good enough signal, and you can see what kind of signal they're getting. You can see which devices are on which units. It's really it's fun to play with. And the good news is you don't have to be a geek to set it up. But if you care about things, you can. For instance, it does a speed test every night. You can see how your speed's going. It'll tell you how much each device has downloaded. So if you have bandwidth caps, I'm guessing you do, you can see who the big bandwidth hogs are in your house. There's lots of valuable tools. The other thing about mesh routers, and another reason I like them, regular updates. And we know routers are a security problem in the house. So these mesh routers, and they are more expensive, and I think this is one of the reasons they're more expensive. Sometimes they even charge monthly fees or yearly fees because they're constantly updated for security. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I forgot that. Yeah, Google makes one too. My daughter has the Google Wi-Fi in her house. Hey, our friends at WordPress wanted a word, if you don't mind. That sounds like that's when you're getting called to the principal's office, right, or the boss. A word, Smithers. I don't mean it that way. WordPress hosts my blog. I love WordPress. WordPress.com. I actually started using WordPress in the early 2000s. I set up my first blog, I think 2001, 2002, and I've tried a bunch of software. Finally ended up with WordPress, but I was hosting it. I was running it on my server, and I found I spent so much time messing around with the server, I didn't spend much time blogging. That's when I discovered WordPress.com. It's WordPress, but they host it. So they do all the hosting, they do all the security, they do the software updates, they do the backups. They really have all the plugins and templates and everything, but they do all the geeky hard stuff, so you can have a website and focus on the stuff you love, the content. Every business should have its own website. If you don't have a website, it's like not having a phone number. I mean, honestly, before I do business with anybody, whether they're cleaning the gutters or doing contracting, I will check their website first. That's a great way to get more information about a company. So you need a website. Yeah, you may have a Facebook page or a Twitter account or an Instagram account. That's fine. Keep that. But it should all point back to your personal site, right? And it's just as important for individuals. In fact, teenagers ought to, when they get to a certain age, maybe high school, get them a website. And the reason is you want that to be the first thing people find when they search for their name. Employers, future employers will be searching for their name on the internet. And you don't want somebody else to control what content shows up. Your teenager should control it, and she should put up there her best stuff. This is her resume on the web. I know that sounds a little, I don't know, businesslike. But honestly, it really is important. I tell teenagers this all the time. You need a website. And you know what? They love it. It's fun. Go to WordPress.com. It's affordable. Plans start at just $4 a month. You don't have to be a geek to do it. And when you upload images, video, audio, it's on your site, and you can download it. You control it. Not Google, not Facebook, nobody else. You control it. I think that's really important. You can, if you're a business, grow your audience. They have search engine optimization built in, social media features, so your customers and readers can link back to you on their Facebook and Twitter. That helps build your business marketing tools, too. I used, when I was traveling, I put stuff on WordPress. I'm going to put more pictures up there on WordPress, and I did it with the WordPress app on my phone. That's nice. The WordPress app is awesome. It's also great on an iPad. 31. Now, here's the kicker. 31% of all the websites in the world, almost a third of every website you go to, is running on WordPress. That's how good it is. That's good because it means there's lots of support for WordPress, lots of add-ons and plugins, and it's just a great ecosystem. WordPress.com/techguy. If you go there, you can get 15% off your new plan. As I said, plans start at just $4 a month. You get 15% off at WordPress.com/techguy. Great gift for a newlywed couple, a baby it's a great baby gift. I set up a website for you. When my kids were born, I registered their domain name. Now they have websites. It's really great. WordPress.com/techguy. And we thank them for their support. And you can see my blog on WordPress at leolaporte.com. Now that I've killed all the social media, that's the place I live on the web, and I love it because I own, it's there. It's mine. WordPress.com/techguy. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 Ask Leo. Line 3, Robert in San Antonio. Hello, Robert.
Hello, Leo.
How are you, my friend?
I am so fantastic that I got hold of you again. I don't know if you remember me, but I told you I tried for 27 years to get hold of you, and I first got hold of you a couple of months ago.
See, once you break the log jam, it's easy.
Yeah. Well, I know I'm going to get a lot of enemies now, but I can't stand any of the football or most of the things that people spend their time wasting looking at that kind of stuff. So as soon as I heard that, I said, well, maybe I got a chance.
Yes, you see, brilliant.
Sure enough, I got through, so thank God for that.
a lot of geeks don't like football. It's okay. You don't have to. It's not.
I don't know if you were given what my problem is. I have 3 Alcatel Model A621DLs, and I just bought 3 of them to the smartphone.
Why'd you buy 3?
Well, one for me, one for my wife, and one for a real close friend up in Massachusetts that her phone is always giving her trouble, and it's just messing up all the time, so I got it for her.
Isn't that nice of you?
Well, they weren't much. They were only $23. It's their bottom-of-the-line one. Well, it's not the bottom of the line. I'm a terminal COPD patient, and so because of my illness and because of my financial status, I'm given 500 minutes through a SafeLink.
Isn't that great? Yeah.
Yeah, that comes in real handy because without it, sometimes I would be in real trouble. But here's my problem. I forgot having 3 of these. Now, I ended up with, over the time here of a couple of years, I guess, getting a few Androids here and there. And so now I've got, I think 6 or 7 of them. I've lost track, actually. my mind isn't what it used to be.
You have a drawer full of phones.
Well, yeah. Well, no, they're not a drawer full. They're active, most of them.
Why do you have so many phones? For yourself? You have 6 or 7 phones?
They're not all phones.
Oh, okay.
They're not all phones.
Okay.
It's
well, that's right. You know what? They really are just small computers, aren't they? You can use them for music, for TV. I mean, they're much more than phones.
This is why I bought it, because I wasn't thinking of using it as a phone. I was going to use it just through the internet. I can use.
That's right.
Messenger, and it works perfect. You can see the person you're talking to. This works better than Skype. And I use it for that through my Wi-Fi. And so I knew I wouldn't need it. It got the 500 minutes they give me per month. I knew I'd never run out of that. But anyway, let's cut to my problem is I forgot the password to get access to the phone. because I've got so many of them, and and my brain doesn't work right. I'm working on probably 3 brain cells, and I'm losing them all the time because of lack of oxygen to my brain. So, not to make an excuse for it.
No, you don't have to make excuses. And by the way, everybody forgets these codes.
I'm 66 in December, and that's part of my problem too. The older you get, the more you have problems remembering things. That's bad enough. But
hey, don't apologize, Robert. I'm catching up with you. So here's the deal. Is it the code you enter when you first the turn on the phone? You have to enter a code to get into it.
Right.
Okay. So on these older Android phones, they're not quite as secure. An iPhone, you might be a little bit more challenged because Apple really locks these things down. But on an Android phone, if you don't mind doing it, the easiest thing is to erase it and start over. Do you mind doing that?
No, I don't mind that at all.
Okay. So it's going to depend on the phone, but almost, I will say all Android phones have a way to get into recovery mode. Now, the easiest way is, of course, if your phone is unlocked, you can do it right from the settings, but your phone is locked. So what you want to do is reset it without unlocking it. And you can do that, but you're going to have to figure out, here's the first thing I'd try. It works on most Android phones. You press and hold the power button and the volume up button at the same time, and that'll put you in recovery mode. And that works on almost all Android phones. It can't promise it'll work on yours, and what you might end up having to do is Google your manufacturer and model and the word reset or factory reset, and there may be a different command for, say, the Alcatels or whatever. But what the command in my case of pressing the power button, and you have to it might be a little tricky because you have to do it in just kind of at the same time, and volume up button, and you have to
you said
volume up and power at the same time.
Volume up.
Yep.
Okay.
And you hold it, and then once you at some point you might have to turn it off first, and you can do that by, even if it's locked, by pressing and holding the power off button. So power it all the way down, then press the power and volume up button together, and you should see on most of these phones a text-based menu that's the recovery mode. And I'll tell you how you navigate that. You move the volume buttons up or down through the menu, and then you press the power button to select. And so you're going to select reset. And reset will just erase the phone, take it back as if you just bought it, which actually isn't a bad thing to do once in a while.
Well, yeah, I did just buy it, and all I did was get it able to connect to my Wi-Fi. I hadn't done anything else, so I won't worry about losing anything.
Yeah, perfect. And then now, some people are going to yell at me when I say this, but I honestly think this is perfectly fine. You don't have a lot of strangers coming and going in your house, do you? Zero. So it's okay. It's perfectly fine to write passwords down. The only issue would be if somebody could get access to the notebook that you're writing it in.
Right.
But as long as people aren't coming and going.
They'd have to get past my 357 first.
Okay, that sounds pretty good. I won't be breaking in, Robert. Yeah, actually, you're in Florida, so you have lots. You have the stand and conquer law. You're great. So what I would do is get a notebook. I've actually seen these in like the Targets and stuff. I don't know if this is a good idea, but I've seen notebooks that say passwords on the front of it in gold letters. That's kind of an announcement to get this notebook, but maybe don't have one that says password, but just get a notebook that you know and you keep it in your desk drawer. And anytime you set a code, a password, whatever, just write it down.
Okay.
That's your password vault.
There's a second issue with them is they always want to keep updating just the apps that came with it.
Right.
And it only has 8 gigabytes of hard drive space and only 1 gig of memory. And I'm always getting low memory and out of space memory on them because every time they do an update, their updates are at least 20 to 30 gigabytes. Or megabytes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that adds up over time when you're getting them frequently.
Yeah.
And so,
but you do want those. Let me tell you, you do want those updates, Robert. You really do.
I know. Yeah.
Don't worry about the low memory. Most of the time, those updates update, they'll download at first, and that may be where you get that warning. But as soon as the update's done, they'll delete it, and they'll not occupy any more than they currently do. Most of the time, updates don't add to this amount of size of these apps or the operating system, but they are very important. As long as you can run them, as long as it happens, it's okay.
It does leave in the downloaded folder the app that or the update that you downloaded, and you can delete that. Okay.
Yeah, it will delete it by automatically.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I know Windows didn't always do that.
No, that's right. Windows does not. It assumes you have a lot of room, but Android understands it. In many cases, space is scant, so it will delete those. Don't you worry. Okay. And if it doesn't, you can go in the downloads folder and with impunity delete anything that's stuck there.
It can handle up to a 32 gigabyte card.
Oh, well, that's another solution. Now, the thing about cards to remember is when you install one of those cards, most of the time apps and the operating system, they don't live on the card. But what you can do, I don't know, if you're using it for music, you can move music there, you can move pictures there, any media, any data files can be moved to the external card, and that will free up space. Once you put in the card, for instance, the camera will say, oh, I see you have a card. You want me to put pictures there? And you just say yes. And that will free up space. But you can't put apps there. Robert, it's great to talk to you again. Keep calling, okay? Love hearing from you. Point the 357 the other way, if you will. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls right after this. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Time to talk computers, the internet, home theater, digital photography, smartphones, smartwatches, all that jazz. 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number, 888-827-5536. That's toll free from anywhere in the U.S. or Canada. Try to reach us outside that area. Well, that's easy, too. You just use, Skype out or one of them things that lets you call from an internet connection. And since it's a toll-free number in the U.S., shouldn't cost you anything. Everything you hear on the show makes its way to our website, techguylabs.com, techguylabs.com. That's free. There's no sign up there. We don't charge you. And I should mention, I don't mention it enough, there's a great little chat room in the behind the scenes. I'm all alone here in the studio, but I'm not really all alone because there's, 500-600 people looking over my shoulder, keeping an eye on things, snarking away in the background, and even offering up solutions. That's the chat room. And you can get in there, too, if you want. There's a web-based version, irc.twit.tv. Twit is our podcast network, so we use the Twit server, irc.twit.tv. Or if you have an IRC client, if you're one of them old-school types, you can use your IRC client and point it to irc.twit.tv. Back to the phones we go here, and on line 2, it's Jay in Cleveland, Ohio. Hello, Jay. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Uncle Leo, how are you, sir?
I'm well, Jay. How are you?
Good. Great. Thank you. Wanted to touch base with you. My middle daughter, her name's Emma, chickened out. Wouldn't get on the phone with you here.
Emma, get on over here. Come on now, Emma.
Wanted to get an idea from you about a DSLR camera.
A
starter kit for
nice.
14 years old. Would like to start taking pictures over and above an old point and shoot we have and or her iPhone camera, and possibly even looking for, she's looked online, we've looked online a little bit, seen some of the packages with some of the Canon EOS and a couple of the others, but wanted to get your opinion on that.
Yeah, I love it. I love supporting our children in their endeavors, especially their artistic endeavors. They work really hard in school, and it's nice to give them an outlet. And who knows, besides just being a great hobby, she might be a great photographer and end up a photojournalist or a fine art photographer. So it's nice to support that. And I love it that kids now, because the camera phones are so good, have really got a chance just with their camera phone alone to kind of stretch their wings and see. And if it's something she loves, then this is great. Now, warn her, you can't take selfies with a DSLR.
Right.
Just so she knows, you can't take selfies.
What's your goes with her phone?
What's your budget for this camera?
I guess we were kind of looking in the neighborhood of $500, something like that.
That's a decent budget.
Yeah. I guess we were kind of going by some of those packages that we've seen online as well.
Yeah, I mean the packages.
Be able to get her a couple, maybe a lens or something like that.
Yeah, so. DSLR, which stands for Digital Single Lens Reflex, actually is rapidly becoming an outmoded phrase, but a digital high-end camera. And the real key on these is interchangeable lenses. So it's a great idea. You know, this is an interesting debate in photography. It's a great idea to get an interchangeable lens camera because you could do different things with different lenses. You know, a telephoto lens is great for sports and other events where you can't get close to the action. A wide-angle lens is great for architecture and landscapes. You know, taking and for portraiture, you want a slightly longer lens, maybe a 85 millimeter lens that can handle low light, and that way you can get great portraits. With great depth of field, you know, the background kind of fades away and the portrait pops out. So each lens has different features, different attributes. A lot of photographic teachers suggest, however, and you know, your temptation is going to be to get the kit lens, which usually is a 20 wide, goes wide to kind of somewhat telephoto, 24 to 70 or something like that. That is a nice all-purpose lens, but a lot of teachers suggest starting with a single prime lens, a 50 millimeter lens, which approximates the eye and really teaches composition, because instead of just zooming in and out, you actually have to think about it, move closer, move farther away, really think about what you're getting. That's going to be up to you and your daughter. She's going to say, "No, Dad, I don't want to have to do all that. I just want one lens." And then you're kind of, yeah, you get one zoom lens, the kit lens. And then the question is, well, what do I need any other lenses for? Because it does it all. I like the idea of having a good low light. They tend to be more expensive. The how much light gathering is determined by what we call the aperture, how big the opening can get, and it's an inverse. So the lower the f-stop, the wider the aperture. So when you see a lens that can do f1.8, f2, f1.8, even f1.4, those are lenses that have can go wider opening and capture more light, which means they're great for not using flash, for getting natural images. They're great for portraiture. They tend to be more expensive, and you'll never see a zoom. We call it a fast lens when it can do that. You'll never see a zoom that fast because it's just too expensive. A fast zoom is maybe 2.4, 3.5, something like that. And
okay.
So think about, instead of getting the kit, getting a body and then getting a nice, say, a f1.4 50 millimeter lens. I think that would be a great teaching lens, but you got to talk to her and she's got to agree with you. As far as which body to get, this is an important decision, because if you're getting an interchangeable lens camera, you're buying into a system. If you get a Canon or a Nikon, you're going to be buying Canon or Nikon lenses forever after. You know, because they have custom mounts, each of them. So you're making a decision in that regard. Right now, I'm kind of a fan of the Nikons. I was a Canon shooter for years, and actually I currently shoot Sonys, which are mirrorless. But for her first camera, maybe a Nikon D3500. This is a good kit camera. It starts at $500.
Okay.
It is, the sensor size is another thing that people often talk about, and this is an APS-C sensor, which is a large sensor but not full frame. Full frame gets very expensive. Ultimately, that's what she's going to want. But I think the D3500 is a very nice, very high quality camera. You could buy a kit and get the 24-70 lens that goes with the kit. Here's what I would do, is the other thing you can look at is dpreview.com, digitalphotographyreview.com. They have a best camera for beginners buying guide that will talk about the pros and cons. They like the Canon, the one you were looking at, the EOS Rebel SL2.
Okay.
That's another very nice one. But they'll talk about the pros and the cons of each. And I'm going to throw in one third one that is, to me, the most flexible solution, which is an Olympus OMD. Now, this is a smaller sensor. It's what we call a micro four thirds sensor. But micro four thirds cameras have one big advantage. Many companies make the lenses. So you have literally hundreds of choices of lenses, and that is kind of nice. My wife shoots an OMD EM5, I think. Mark, I can't remember. Yeah, or is it EM1? EM1 Mark 5, something like that. Anyway, the OMDs are compact. They are interchangeable lens, and you have a huge number of choices of lenses. So I go to DP Review, read the best camera for beginners buying guide. They also have a best camera for students guide, and that will give you some more information. The three cameras I've mentioned here are absolutely top of the line cameras, and it's a great project for her to be involved in, unless you want to do it as a Christmas gift.
Yeah, okay. And I think she would like to be.
Yeah.
What's your thoughts about any advantages of picking up something specifically brand name number Amazon versus local camera store?
Doesn't matter. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
I buy most of my cameras on Amazon now.
Okay. Didn't know if the
I like to support local camera stores if you happen to have one, but the prices are going to be a little higher there. And, our local camera store disappeared even though I supported them. So I end up buying on Amazon. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I have to say that's a great project. And it's a great thing for her to get involved in, because I really kind of skimmed the surface. But there really are trade-offs, pros and cons, light versus heavy body, what kinds of stuff she wants to shoot. Does she want to do portraiture? Do you know?
She's talked about starting with things outdoors.
Okay, so
and whatnot too. But she might end up eventually getting.
The iPhone, the camera phones are wide-angle lenses. They tend to be equivalent of a 28mm lens on a full-frame sensor.
Okay.
So she's used to wide angle, relatively wide angle, not super wide, not fisheye, obviously, and those are better for architecture, outdoors, landscape, stuff like that. So that might be another thing to look at, is a 35mm. Now, the nice thing about outdoor is low light's not an issue. You're not worrying about that so much.
Right. Okay.
The other thing, and somebody's saying this, chat room, and I do agree. If you don't mind buying mail order, there are two very good mail order companies that offer nice kits. One is B&H. I buy a lot of camera gear from
Seen
B&H.
that online before. Yeah.
They're really good. The other one is Adorama. But I buy almost all my gear. I did say Amazon. I have bought stuff on Amazon, but I bought almost my gear now at B&H Photo. It's bnhphotovideo.com. So I should add that in there. And you know what? You could price shop. You can they're all the same. What you don't want to do, and this is something to watch out for, and you can get bid on this by Amazon, is buy from a not unauthorized retailer. Often they'll sell you a camera that does not have a U.S. warranty, things like that. You want to make sure you have the U.S. warranty. B&H will not do that to you.
Yeah, great. Excellent. Thank you.
Have fun. What a great project.
Some great help.
You're a great support. That's nice. Yeah, that's really nice.
Thanks for all you do, too. I've been a long time
Thank you.
watcher and listener, and we have in the stream right now attempting to not watch the Cleveland Browns because they're
oh, Lord.
pretty bad here. But
hey, you won one. I mean.
yeah, that's right. They're winning.
First one in, what, 2 years?
I'll put you back on and force
Thanks,
the
Jay.
kids to watch the end of this.
Thanks, Jay. All right.
Thanks, Leo. Take care.
Take care. Bye-bye. That's so cute. I think that's a great, for a 14 is such a formative age. And it's so great to give a kid some sort of way to express herself. That the mom and dad maybe don't even know anything, don't know, the ins and outs of. She can be an expert on to them. And I think photography is a really natural one, because kids now, with their camera phones, they do a lot of photography. Fourteen's right about the age, especially for girls. Boys is a little later, but 14's right about the age where they're gonna find something that they really love. I found chess, believe it or not, when I was about 14, and that was a lifesaver for me in my teen years. Yeah, I think the Loomises are good. I think she wants doesn't want a point and shoot. And actually, in that price range, it's gonna be a little hard. I think in the long run, he's going to be spending maybe a little bit more than his price range. Yeah, B&H is great. That's where I bought my fancy Leica lens and my Sony lenses. I pretty much buy from B&H. It was a great experiment using the A7R II and the Leica lens on my last trip. And I'm trying to decide now. I think I'll probably go back to the A9. I have a really nice 85mm on the f1.4 on the A9 that I really like. I completely agree with you, Twisted Mister. That is a good point, feeling it. But this is her beginner camera. She's not going to spend a long time with this camera. And I think any of the ones we mentioned are going to be fine. And frankly, I would tell her get a manual focus, not get an autofocus. I don't think you want to rely too much on autofocus. Get her a film camera. Leica M3. Now we're cooking. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I'm going to say something really crazy, but Chris Marquardt, who's not going to be here today, by the way, he would normally be here in about 10 minutes, but he's out shooting as usual. We're going to miss him a couple of weeks, and then we'll do our photo review. Hat, by the way, is the assignment. Go out and take a picture that represents the concept hat. Upload it to our Flickr group, the Tech Guy group on Flickr. Tag it with the word hat. And I think 3 weeks from now, I'm going to predict we will have a review of all our hat photos. I'm going to say something, though, that Chris would say if he were here. We were talking earlier with a dad who wants to buy his 14-year-old daughter her first serious camera. She's shown an interest in photography. And we talked about all the modern digital cameras. But, you know, here's a crazy thought. Man, I don't know. Maybe this is too crazy. What about a film camera? You can buy a used Leica, great film camera, and used Leica lenses for practically nothing because lots of people have these, or more likely inherit these, and don't want them. John's shaking his head, but John was a film shooter like me, and I'm going to go even crazier, John. I'm going to say, and then build a little darkroom for her, have her shoot black and white, Tri-X, and develop it and print it herself. I think that's a great discipline. First of all, it's expensive. Each picture costs you something. And as a result, you think about it a little bit more. With digital photography, and I know there's a problem for me. I take too many pictures. Because why not? They're free. So you take 20 shots of the same thing just because you want that perfect shot. That's fine. That's a modern way of thinking about photography. But I did learn with a Nikon FM all-manual film camera, and it's so expensive to pay for processing film and then printing it that I did it myself because it was just way too expensive. So I would roll my own Nikon Tri-X film. You buy Kodak Tri-X, which is and they still make it, beautiful 400 ISO black and white film. It's a little grainy, but it has just a classic feel, kind of contrasty, but it's just a classic look. You've seen many Tri-X photos, especially photojournalists, because it's a fast, easy film to develop and print. You buy it in big rolls, and you get a bag, a big black nylon bag that you can, with 2 armholes, you can stick your armholes in here because you can't let any light strike this film, and you roll up little reels of film. You can get a little thing that does that, little roller, and make your own film canisters. That saves you money. Get it down to about a penny a photo now. And then you print it yourself. You have to get an enlarger. Again, this is all a lot cheaper than it used to be because there's a lot of used gear on the market because nobody wants to do this anymore, except it's a great discipline. I do know some photography schools, a lot of photography schools, even in high schools, are teaching kids film photography first. No, you got to do it the old way, the old-fashioned way. Back when photographers were photographers. Learn the Ansel Adams zone system, things like that. I think it does make you a better photographer, though, because you have to think about it. Each images aren't disposable anymore, and that's one of the problems with modern photography. You know, it's so easy and cheap. They're disposable. But when you have to pay a penny for each picture, and it's not just the penny, it's all the time you spent rolling it, the time you're going to spend in red lit, dark rooms with toxic chemicals developing it. And then, of course, the artistic process of printing it, which is really fun because you don't have Photoshop. You dodge and burn in real time using light. Those chemicals probably aren't very good anymore, are they? They're not good for you. I think it's kind of a fun craft. Maybe a little too crafty for a 14-year-old. Just a thought. It was just a thought. 8888 Ask Leo. Artie is on the line from Encino, California. Hi, Artie. Artie, hello. I'm not hearing anything at all. I pushed all the right buttons, but let me put Artie on hold and see if it's me or our technologies here. Maybe Artie's asleep. Ryan in Santa Barbara. Can I hear Ryan? Yes, I can.
Hey, hi, Leo.
Hi, Ryan.
All right, Leo. How's life treating you today?
It's treating me great. I got a nice cup of coffee, some wonderful callers on the line. Nothing could be sweeter.
Perfect. I'm about to head to the beach, but I had a question for you.
Now you're making me jealous.
Well, it's not quite, I'm not the beach yet. I got to get the answer first. But
okay,
I'm on that, Leo. On my question, was all my financial institutions. Everybody wants me to do something online.
Yeah, nowadays that's the only way. They don't want you to go in the bank. It's too expensive.
Right. Exactly. Well, exactly. They'll charge you for that, so that gets you online real fast. But I wanted to buy one computer that was 100% dedicated just to financial transactions.
Great idea. And that computer, you want to be super secure.
Yeah, exactly. And so I was going to add, I don't mind a huge login and all these different things.
Without a doubt, in my mind, as long as your bank supports the Chrome browser, and I'm sure it does, it's the dominant browser, you should get a Chrome OS-based laptop. And the reason is Chrome OS is designed for security. You can't the ROM can't be modified without your knowledge. The operating system and the software are intentionally highly simplified so that there's no way a virus can infect it. And you're going to use basically the Chrome OS browser, which will allow you to do all the banking you want to do. And the good news about Chromebooks, they tend to be less expensive because they're very simplified. They're widely used in schools because kids will screw up a computer if they can. I think it's perfect for you. And there are some very good ones. I would take a look. Acer makes, it depends on this. It's a laptop's okay, right?
Right, that's fine.
Yeah, Acer makes a very nice aluminum body, 15-inch laptop. It's a nice size Chromebook laptop. If you want to spend less, there are certainly less expensive ones from Acer, Dell, Lenovo. Everybody makes these things. In fact, on Tuesday, we expect Google to announce an update to their Chromebooks. They make the most expensive Chromebooks out there, though, so I don't want to spend too much of your money. Take a look. I think the best Chromebook out there, if you don't want to spend a ton of money, if you're in the $500 price range, is the Acer Chromebook 15. I think they're really, really beautiful.
Okay, that sounds ideal.
Yeah, and it's secure. You don't have to worry about it. And you don't have to, actually, I'm looking at prices as low as $250 for this Acer. So this is a perfect thing to say, look, I'm not going to use this for anything but getting online with my bank. It can't get a virus, so you don't have to worry about it. Nobody can put a keystroke logger on it without your knowledge. You don't have to worry about being hacked. It's a perfect way to go secure.
Well, Leo, thank you so much. I
My
definitely
pleasure.
appreciate it.
Yeah. They have, Chromebooks now come in a variety of flavors. You can get touch screens. The higher-end Chromebooks running Intel chips. You can get Chromebooks that will run Android as well as Chrome OS. For you, though, get the dumb version. You don't want Android. That's just a chance to add something that maybe isn't as secure. You want, and you don't need touch. You're just going to be banking. So I think a nice couple of $100, $300, $400 Chromebook is a perfect choice. This is practically exactly what they were made for. 88, I've become a real fan of the Chromebook. I was skeptical when they first came up, but I'm a big fan now. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I was really tempted for a while to go, but the problem is I don't have anywhere I could make it to a dark room. You have to have kind of a place that you can seal out all the light. Nowadays you need good ventilation because you don't want to breathe in the fixer and all that stuff. Be kind of fun. Let me just see if eBay. I bet you could buy on eBay. You could buy an entire darkroom setup. Let me see how much. Because there's lots of people who had them. There's a Gray Lab clock, $12.90. Oh, that's just a pin. Trays, darkroom developing trays, film developing, darkroom supplies, pre-owned, $52. Let's see what the enlargers were going to cost. That's the real. And what you do, look, here's a Besseler Universal color head, dark room and larger, negative carrier lens, $303. Oh, here's one with a Schneider Krosnach lens, black and white, $300. That is a nice setup. So you need this to make the prints, because what happens is you put the negative in this enlarger, and you put the photo paper on the base. And remember, you have the room is dark or has red light usually. So it seems like it's all kind of focused in on $300 for a Bessler. I don't know. Maybe it's just nostalgic of me. I haven't really used it. I bought that M3. I have a very nice Leica lens that works on it. The M3's in perfect condition. Bought a bunch of film. Shot some pictures. I actually also bought a, more just for nostalgia than anything else, a Rolleiflex. But what I was doing is bringing it to the store where they would develop it and digitize it. And that's kind of, you need to do the whole thing. Oh, yeah. I could put it in the wine cellar. I'd have to replace the door. It has a glass door. We don't really do anything in the wine cellar. That's a great idea. I also thought when we bought the house, this would be a good voice booth. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888, ask Leo. Let's try again with Artie. Hey, Artie, are you there?
Yes, I'm there.
You had mute on, didn't you?
Leo.
Yeah. Good to see you. Welcome.
Thank you. I spoke to you before. Leo, I have a Note 8 and I have a Plantronics Bluetooth headset.
Yeah.
52. I have this issue with all my notes. I've been buying notes from Note 1 up.
I think you're having the issue right now. Are you on the note right now? We lost you for a second there. All I heard was you've had all the notes and you've had an issue. What's the issue?
The issue I have is a media audio that turns off randomly because it's connected to iPhone as well as Note 8.
Ah. So you're using are you talking about on the Plantronics?
Yes, I have a Plantronics connected to both phones. The iPhone and also to
so periodically the Plantronics will say, "Oh, I'm going to go listen to the iPhone instead of the Note." Is that what's happening?
The iPhone stays well. The media audio, which is like listening to radio, that one turns off. But the phone calls comes in, that's fine. Only the media audio on it.
So the way Bluetooth works, there are a number of profiles for different kinds of uses. There's the headset profile, which is used for phone calls. There are a number of different audio profiles. The most common is A2DP, but there are other newer ones now. Given the Note 8 and the age of it, which is a year old, it's probably using A2DP. Might be using aptX, but in any event, that's for stereo music or audio of some kind. So you can have one disconnect and the other one continue. They're different. They're separate profiles. It sounds like, does it not happen if the iPhone is in a different room or far away or turned off?
No.
Okay. You mentioned the iPhone. I was just wondering if that was, you had some hint that was part of the problem. So it's
right.
Yeah.
And what I was going to say is that on the pairing device, when I'm in it right now looking at it, the 5200 series, it says on the Note 8, it has call audio, media audio, and contact access.
Perfect.
The call audio and contact access stays on. The media audio
drops out.
Drops out.
Yeah. All I can say is welcome to Bluetooth. I mean, there may be a cause. There may be a cause for this, but this is not. Anybody who uses Bluetooth to listen to music knows it's far from perfect. I always prefer wired. In fact, one of the reasons I still buy Samsung phones is they still have a headphone jack. Thank goodness, because it doesn't ever drop out unless you step on the cord. Whereas I have Bluetooth dropout. It's not unusual for me. So. I don't know what's causing it. It could be an issue with the Plantronics. John in Florida, who's listening, says he has the same Plantronics paired to a Galaxy S7 and a Windows tablet, and he says, I have also had the occasional issue. I don't think that pairing it to two different devices is necessarily the issue. Although that's because that particular device can do it. A lot of Bluetooth devices, you can always have multiple Bluetooth devices on a phone or a car. Usually there's some limit, but you can usually have more than one. But it's not unusual for a Bluetooth device to say, I only will pair to one thing. So, but more modern Bluetooth devices will pair to multiple units. So I just don't know. I feel like this is kind of par for the course for Bluetooth. That Plantronics isn't the best sounding. I know you're only listening, it sounds like, to radio or podcast, so it's just voice. But it may be that it would work better if you got a better Bluetooth headphone or something like that. It might work better. That Plantronics really is intended to be mostly for phone use, for headset use. But I don't want you to spend a lot of money. I mean, I bought the $150 Apple AirPods, right? The Bluetooth, and Apple even said, when they put those out, Bluetooth, we got, so we had to design a special chip, the W1 chip that we put in our AirPods and on our phones that makes it easier to use Bluetooth, and they still drop out all the time. It's not at all unusual for me to be on a call using my AirPods, talking, and all of a sudden, nobody can hear me, I can't hear anybody, and I look on the phone, and the phone's taking it back for no reason. I think Bluetooth is not a very good technology. And that's why it really gripes me that all these companies, particularly Apple and Google, have decided that the headphone jack is superfluous. We've got wireless. What do you need a headphone jack for? Apple even added insult to injury with the new phones, the XS and the XS Max, by not even including an adapter. They used to at least include a lightning port to headphone jack adapter. They don't even do that anymore. They include a pair of lightning-based headphones, but the presumption really is you're going to use Bluetooth. And I just don't think Bluetooth's ready. There are newer versions of Bluetooth. Bluetooth 5, I think, is the latest. maybe I'm pretty sure that Note 8 supports it. Look and see what the specs are. I'm sitting in front of a Note 9, but, again, one of the reasons I buy these things is because they have headphone jacks. And if I'm on an important call or I want to listen to music, I'm going to use the headphone jack. I'm on the airplane. Partly that's also because then I can charge at the same time as I listen. That's a big problem on iPhones. It's either or. Scooter X says he uses his Plantronics 5220 for hours at a time with his Pixel 2 XL while driving. Now, do you use it for music, Scooter X, or just for phone calls? Because that's Artie's issue, is that music is dropping out, not the phone calls. He says the phone calls continue to work. John's also pointing out that Plantronics does offer an app for Android, and that might help. Also, make sure you have the latest firmware on your Bluetooth headset. Okay, a couple of good tips. But now tell me the truth. I'm looking at the chat room right now. Tell me the truth, guys. Don't you have on a regular basis, doesn't Bluetooth fail on you? It's not unusual, is it? 8888 asks, Leo, I don't know if that helps, Artie. Probably not, but take a look at the Plantronics software. Put that on your Android. See if that can maybe update the Bluetooth headset, and maybe that'll help. Lee, Southern Illinois. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Hi, Lee.
Hello.
Hello.
First of all, I want to thank you, Leo, and your staff for all the dedicated years of service that you gave to the community.
Thank you. It is my great pleasure. It's not like we do it for free.
I feel the
It is my job, but hey, I have a pretty darn good job. Don't tell the boss, but I probably would do it for free.
Well, thank her too.
She's great. What can I do for you today?
I've got a Linux question for you.
Oh, good. I love Linux questions.
I solved my Wi-Fi issue. I don't know if anybody else would.
Okay.
The Linux issue is that for the last, 15 years, I've been buying refurb units, desktops and laptops, because they're like 2 to 5 years old.
Yep.
And it's like I buy a lot of HP ProBooks and Dell and Lenovo's.
Mm-hmm.
And, then I usually try to get them with some kind of Windows Pro on it, but then I do dual boot for Linux or triple boot even. And I go around and show people like what Linux is about. And Mint looks just like Windows.
Yeah.
And I've been trying to look for a distro that looks like Mac.
Yeah.
That way I can show them, say, hey, looky here, you can have a free OS and buy a $150 laptop, and it'll do everything you need.
Oh, we got to take a break. Hang on, I'll give you your answer when we return. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Perhaps I should talk a little bit about Rocket Mortgage. Are you buying a home, refining? Best lender in the country. Just, hands down, Quicken Loans, right? They're the best. They're very technologically focused. They're very customer focused. That's why 8 years in a row they've won the J.D. Power Customer Satisfaction Award. #1 in customer satisfaction for mortgage origination for 8 years. For 5 years, #1 for mortgage servicing too. So they really focus on the customer. In fact, that's why they created something called Rocket Mortgage, an entirely online mortgage approval process. No more going to the lender and begging. No more filling out long forms. No more paperwork, at all. Except when obviously when you get the loan, you have to sign the papers. But other than that, and actually even then it's neat because they come to you. The notary comes to you, runs the whole thing. You never have to leave the house. I love Rocket Mortgage. And Quicken Loans has done something that I think is really cool to make it easier to get a loan and make it less anxiety-ridden. Because it is. I mean, this is the biggest check you'll ever write. Buying a house is a big deal. It's somewhere you and your family are going to live for years. You want to make the right choice, and you don't want it to be driven by fear or anxiety at all. So Quicken Loans has created the power buying process. It all starts at rocketmortgage.com/techguy. First, you'll answer a few short questions. Very easy. You can answer them right off the top of your head. And they'll check your credit, and they'll give you pre-qualified approval. You choose the term, the rate, the down payment, and you got pre-qualified approval. Boom. Within, in most cases, about 10 minutes or less. But then the second step is, in 24 hours, a loan officer will look at it all. You don't have to do anything. You don't have to call banks and get statements or call previous employers and get pay stubs or anything like that. They'll do it all. They'll verify income, assets, and credit. And then you get verified approval within 24 hours. Now you've got a letter. You can show the seller. You basically go right to the front of the line. That's pretty good. And here's where the third step comes in. Once you're verified, you qualify for their all-new exclusive Rate Shield approval. First, they'll lock your rate up for 90 days, up to 90 days while you shop. You get up to 3 months to look for a house without ever worrying about rates going up. That's a big deal nowadays. Rates are going up. And even a tiny increment, a quarter point increase could cost you tens of thousands of dollars over the 30 years of the loan. That's pressure you don't need when you're looking for a house. If the rates go up, your rate stays the same. It's locked in. But if rates go down, your rate goes down. So that's even better. It's the kind of thinking you'd expect from America's largest mortgage lender. Here's what you do. It's easy. Go to rocketmortgage.com/techguy and get started right now. Rate Shield approval only valid on certain 30-year purchase transactions. Additional exclusions or conditions may apply based on Quicken Loans data in comparison to public data records. Equal housing lender licensed in all 50 states. NMLS consumeraccess.org number 3030. rocketmortgage.com/techguy. We thank Rocket Mortgage for making the Tech Guy podcast possible. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Every time I hear that chord, I think of the creator of Boston, the band. What's his name? Tom Scholz, in his basement, recording every bit of that song by himself. And this is before digital, right? This is in the 70s, and he's doing it on a tape machine. Nowadays, a single person in his basement, a Chance the Rapper, could do it all easily with digital technology. Doesn't even have to go to the basement. But I'm pretty impressed that Tom Scholz could do all of that in 1976 in the basement on a tape machine. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy, 8888 Ask Leo, the phone number. I was talking, and I'm sorry I had to cut you off so abruptly, Lee. I wasn't paying attention to the time. Lee in Southern Illinois. I love it that you are a Linux evangelist. Linux is a operating system that was created by a Finnish graduate student named Linus Torvalds in 1991, I think, 92. Because he made it open source, he said, I'm not going to charge people for this. And it happened at a perfect time when the internet was appearing and the ability for people all over the world to collaborate on software, open source was just beginning, had just started. And so it really took off. And many, many people have worked on Linux to make it a very powerful operating system. And they've paired it with the GNU Free Software Foundation software. And GNU has programs that basically duplicate all of the Unix programs. You asked an interesting question. How can you've got a Linux Mint, which is a version of Linux based on Ubuntu that looks a lot like Windows, and you want to show Mac people one that looks a lot like Mac, and I have some choices for you. But there is a caution to that. I'm a little nervous about doing that because it makes a promise that's hard for Linux to keep, because Linux won't run Windows software very well. It can sort of under Wine, and it definitely won't run any Mac software. There's no Wine for Mac. So it may look like a Macintosh. It may have menus like Windows, but it isn't Windows and it isn't Mac. And I think you can safely make the case these days it might be better than Mac or Windows. Not just that it's free, but that there's so many apps for it, so well supported by community all over the world that I think, maybe it's easier to say to people, well, it's going to look just like Windows, but it isn't going to be Windows, and that's the key for them. So there are a couple of versions of Linux that are very Mac-ish. The one I've usually recommended is called Elementary OS, and it's specifically designed to look like Macintosh. It's just for you. It's designed to make people who use Macs. It's got a dock. It's got app icons that are beautiful. They're really focused on making it attractive. And like all Linuxes, this is free. You can download it. You mentioned try-booting. I presume it's Windows and 2 different versions of Linux. And that's the other beauty of Linux is there are many, many versions, hundreds and hundreds of them. You can go to distrowatch.org and see all of them. The other one, and I've never tried this, but it was recommended to me by a caller last week, is called eLive, and you can get that at elivecd.org. And that is also, and I think Mac users might appreciate it, focused on aesthetics, right? And I think that is one thing that Mac users maybe are a little bit different. They've based it on Debian. Debian is my favorite kind of Linux because it's community supported. It is not owned by a company. Ubuntu, which is owned by a company, is based on Debian. Mint is based on Ubuntu, so it's based on Debian 2 removes. I think the same thing for Elementary OS. But eLive started with Debian, and they use the Enlightenment desktop, which is an interesting choice. But they've made it quite beautiful. Just looking at it, I've yet to install it. I'm going to have to do it. But that would be one certainly to try, and that's the other thing that's great about Linux. And I know you agree, Lee, is it's easy to try them.
Yeah, and if it's got a live version, then you could just boot into it.
And it does, yeah. All Linuxes now come with live versions. So I would, in fact, they even, on the eLive website, they show it running on an iMac, so.
Yeah, I've taken old Macs. And
it's hard to get Linux working well on a Mac, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah. You're better off doing what you do, which is buy refurbished Lenovo's or Dells.
Yeah, they're great machines. I mean, they got like i5 and i7 processors. They're like the machines you've got that are brand new, but they're 2 to 3-4 years old.
In a way, with Linux, you want it that way because as machines get older, they're more likely to be supported. It takes a little time. So a brand new machine often isn't as well supported by Linux. But what I generally do, because I buy 1 or 2, just for review purposes, 1 or 2 new Windows laptops a year, sometimes more. When they get to be a year or 2 old, just like you, instead of buying refurb, I just take mine and I put Linux on them. I just put Linux on my Lenovo, second generation Lenovo Yoga, and it runs beautifully, the X1 Yoga. It's just a gorgeous machine, made even more gorgeous. My favorite Linux, the one I use personally, is based on Arch Linux, another very good community-supported distribution. It's a little different than Debian. Debian is more stable. Arch is what we call a rolling update. So it is constantly updated, and that's probably not best for beginners. But it is. But I like to have the latest versions of everything on my systems. So that's why I use
people I talk to, all they want is
a rock solid, secure platform that doesn't crash.
or they want to do some word processing, and
there's a free Office. There's LibreOffice, which is really good and does look a lot like Microsoft Office. The browsers are the same. You can use, Firefox or Chromium, which is the open source version of Chrome, and it's exactly the same as Firefox or Chrome on Windows or Mac. So they generally email. There's not. What do you use for email for these people? Is there a particular program you like?
Well, I've been using Thunderbird, but
Thunderbird's pretty good. I like Claws. But I don't know if Claws is a good choice for novices. I don't find a really good... Actually, this is true on Windows and Mac, too, frankly. It's hard to find a good email program on any platform, to be honest.
Once you find a good one, they stop it.
That's what happened to Thunderbird. It's a great tragedy, yeah.
Yeah, I know. And I've got Wi-Fi issues where I live because I live on a block. There's just two of us that have single-family homes, and then all around us for the last 30 years have been 8-plexes and 16-plexes.
Yep. And they all have Wi-Fi, don't they?
And they just stomp all over our signal. So what I do is I have been buying Ubiquiti outdoor.
Yeah, those are very high-end. You're a geek, so you can configure them. You know what you're doing.
Well, also, recently I bought TP-Link, an outdoor access point.
I think they're good, too, yeah.
So it'll transmit for miles, actually.
Oh, nice.
And then I've got these outdoor, they look like little sectors, and they're CPEs, customer premise equipment. So I can face it towards my wireless access point, and I have no issues at all. It don't matter where I go. I can go across town with this thing.
Who's stomping on whom?
Still access my wireless access.
I'll show you.
and a lot of these people that live around me, they don't know that there's only 3 channels on 2.4 gigahertz. There's channel 1, 6, and 11.
Yeah.
They'll be on channel 3 or channel 8. Right. They stomp all over the band. Well, I don't care anymore.
They can hit 2 bands with one. One of the reasons I like 5G, most modern Wi-Fi routers will do the older 2.4 gigahertz band, and they will do the newer 5 gigahertz band. One of the reasons I like the 5G routers is it doesn't propagate as far. The higher the frequency, the more easily stopped by windows, doors, trees. And so what I like, one theory of this is that you, instead of trying to blast your way to Wi-Fi success, you make little pools of Wi-Fi that are only visible to you and anybody in close proximity, and you have lots of little ones. This is the Plume philosophy. Plume is one of those mesh routers I use and I've mentioned. And by having many little plumes, one in each room, one in a hall, you can create little pools of Wi-Fi that don't get interfered with because the 5 gigahertz signals from your neighbors 100 feet away aren't really propagating through your windows and doors, and nor are you interfering with them. And I think it's a much more neighborly way to get very good Wi-Fi. 5 gigahertz also can be very fast. So that's my standard now for Wi-Fi. If at all possible, I'll make sure I get 5G routers, and I'll use when I say 5G, that's probably confusing. 5 gigahertz routers, because we're not talking 5G cell phone. That's something else. Hey, it's great to talk to you, a fellow Linux nerd. Thanks, Lee. Phone number 8888 Ask Leo. Website techguylabs.com. We're having fun on a Sunday. I'm glad you're here. More calls right after this. I love Claus Mail, and then because the folks at GPG Tools, the Mac GPG solution I use, have started charging now for the Mail plugin, for Apple Mail plugin. It gave me a reason to go back to my old program, MailMate, which can still be used freely with GPG. I send them the money because I think I understand they deserve the money, but I didn't. But I never got a code, so I couldn't use it anyway. So I just use MailMate now, and I really like MailMate. Apple Mail's not bad actually, but I love MailMate. It's a paid Mac mail app, and I forgot how much I love MailMate. MailMate is looks a lot like Apple Mail, but I think it's very powerful. One of the things I love about Clause that I wish other email packages had is the templating. It makes it really easy to just send out emails. You can have templated emails. Pegasus is very good. Use it over UUCP. How interesting. Yeah, Nixle. I like Nixle. I subscribed to it during the fires, and all our local agencies use it. So I keep getting text messages from law enforcement and fire and everything about what's going on. It's nice. It's very handy. There was a big protest a couple of days ago at one of the chicken farms, and I got the Nixle, stay away from this area because you won't. It's a mess. A bunch of people, they broke into the chicken farms and tried to steal the chickens because to liberate the chickens. Well, yeah, that's a good question because we do have coyotes and other things, mostly bobcats, that would eat chickens. I hope they weren't just freeing them into the world. Where were they going to take those chickens? Well, it didn't matter. They all got arrested. And somebody was telling me it's $20,000 bail per protester because they actually broke into the farm and vandalized it and tried to take the chickens out. They were thieving. Chicken thieves. And apparently it was a felony. I don't know if they knew that was going to happen. Yeah. Yeah. As God is my witness, I thought turkeys could fly. Yeah, I wouldn't do Manjaro. I would do, if you're interested in Arch and you don't want to do the setup from scratch, Antergos is what I like. However, I have to say, it's good to... so Arch has a couple of reasons to use Arch Linux. One is the wiki is amazing. Two is the user repository, AUR, which is fantastic. But Archists, and boy, if somebody uses Arch, they'll be sure to tell you within 5 minutes of talking to them, really live by this notion that you build your own Linux. And so you're supposed to, if you're going to install Arch, do it by hand, roll your own, using the Arch wiki step by step. And I do think that's a great thing to do once. It's good because you learn how, it all works together and you learn a lot about Linux that way. But it's a pain in the butt. So once you do it once, and I highly recommend it, then from then on you can use Antergos. You have my permission because Antergos is a full installer that installs Arch Linux without any of the hassle. And Antergos is great because it really recognizes hardware. It pulls in all the stuff you need. And I really am a fan of Antergos. It works on almost everything. So, Antergos. Mint I am really not a fan of because Mint is essentially a desktop environment posing as a distro. If you're going to use Mint, just install Debian stable if you want it to be stable, and use the, what is Mint? I forgot the name of the Mint. Budgie. Is it Budgie? I can't remember the name of the Mint desktop environment, but just use that. It's exactly like Mint. But it's better because there's some question about whether how quickly Mint incorporates down upstream patches and so forth. I don't like Mint. I'm not a fan of Mint. It's a desktop environment pretending to be a Linux distro. And Ubuntu is fine, but I kind of lost interest in Ubuntu when they started embedding the Amazon icon in there, and they used Amazon search and stuff. They're obviously making money from Amazon, and that kind of soured me. So I like Debian because it's completely community supported. And there are three flavors of Debian. There's stable, which isn't going to get updated except for security patches. That's what I use on all my servers. They do have a testing version, which is a little more up to date. But I like rolling updates as long as you know what you're doing. Arch is not for the novice, I guess. Debian stable will be for the novice. With Cinnamon, that's it. Debian stable with Cinnamon. Yep. It's just like Mint, but better. Just like Mint, but better. And you'll get the security updates and all that stuff right away. Stretch. They named their Debian names their distros after Toy Story characters. Well, hey, how are you today? Leo Laporte here, the tech guy. Oh, yeah, it's time to talk computers and the internet and home theater and digital photography. We talk about smartphones. We talk about smartwatches, GPS, augmented reality, virtual reality, and all the above. Mixed reality now is the term people use. 8888 Ask Leo's the phone number if you want to talk about tech. 888-827-5536. Website is techguylabs.com. Everything I say is put there, so you don't have to worry about writing it down. You know, you can get all the links after the fact. Website's open 24/7, and it's free. There's no sign up. There's just free. Just go like the old days. Remember? You'd go to a site, click links, things like that. Yeah. There's even a very good search. You can go back in time. The Tech Guy Show is, I guess, coming up. Our 15th anniversary, 15 years coming up in January. So there's almost 15 years worth of shows there. That's a lot. That's an awful lot. So there's something for everyone there. TechGuyLabs.com. Audio and video of the show after the fact, too, so you can listen and watch. And there's a podcast. Hey, a word to our listeners on the West Coast. If you're near Vandenberg Air Force Base, you know, Santa Barbara, Ventura, San Luis Obispo, Lompoc, that area. About 7:20 p.m., SpaceX is going to launch a Falcon 9 rocket. It's actually their first attempt on the West Coast to land. You know how they land those boosters? It's going to be their first attempt to do it, and they're doing it from the Vandenberg Air Force Base, and that means there'll probably be a fairly hefty sonic boom. You don't hear those that much anymore. There'll be a big sonic boom around 7:20 tonight if all goes right, if the launch goes off as planned. Similar to an explosion or a clap of thunder. Just be aware. Elon Musk tweeted, and it's always an adventure when Elon Musk tweets, I might add. Sonic boom warning. This won't be subtle. So just be prepared. It's their first attempt to land on land on the West Coast. Line 2, Max, West L.A. Hi, Max.
Hello, sir.
Welcome.
A couple of quick questions. My wife has an iPhone 7, which is almost 2 years old.
Yeah.
And I have a SE, which is about a year and a half old, and we're very happy with them. She's a heavy user and charges her phone constantly when she's at any particular time in the car or whatever. I let my phone go down to, the low before I charge it, and because I'm not as heavy a user of hers, and I can go over 2 or 3 days with it. Anyway, I know Apple is offering a $29 battery replacement till the end of the year for these phones. Her capacity is 86%, mine is 89%. Is it worth the money to replace those batteries?
Yeah, I mean, you're in pretty good shape. So when the phone is delivered to your door, it's 100% capacity. That means, all lithium-ion batteries have a certain number of charge-discharge cycles they can go through, generally around 500. So, and a fractional, like what your wife's doing, a fractional charge-discharge. So if she's letting it go down a quarter and charging it up a quarter, 4 of those make 1. You are more, discharging fully, recharging, so you're going to get that 500 times. As it gets closer to that 500 point, it's going to get lower and lower, the capacity, and at some point it's going to get so low that it really won't hold a charge anymore, and you will need a new battery. Apple had to do this. They didn't want to do this, but they had to do it because they started pushing out software updates that were slowing phones down where their batteries were worn, because they didn't want the phone to crash if there would be high demand on that battery. And sometimes that does happen, they say. A lot of people said, no, it doesn't happen. Android doesn't do it. It's just a ploy to get you to buy a new phone. And in response, Apple said, well, all right, we'll let you get a new battery if you want. I think you're probably all right. I don't, that's a pretty high level.
So I should ignore, not bother, not.
Well, it's a good deal.
Yeah, it's a good deal, but
$30 is $30. I don't think you need it.
If If it's not broke, don't fix it. Is the old.
Yeah, and how many more years do you want to use that SE?
As long as I can, I love it.
Well, it will get it back up to 100. So maybe it will add, 6 months to the life. Is that worth $30? That's the decision you have to make.
Right. Okay. Also, can I comment on something you said last week?
It's actually, by the way, $79 for the SE.
Oh,
that'll change your point of view. It is depends on the phone model. Yes, go ahead.
You were talking about taking your cameras on vacation and all these stuff. All the being a photographer, you like to carry a lot of stuff with you and everything.
Yeah.
And it occurred to me when I was listening, because I listen to your show every week.
Thank you.
That in the '60s, one of the great photojournalists, street photographers, Henri Cartier-Bresson, only used one lens and one camera.
Right.
Whenever he went anywhere.
And man, was he amazing, right?
Yeah. I mean, he used a Leica M3 with a 50 millimeter, and sometimes he used a 35.
I actually bought a Leica M3 because of that, and a 50 millimeter Leica lens. Almost all the great street photographers, if you're a street photographer, you carry one camera and one lens because you don't want to intimidate people and you don't have time to switch around. So yeah, of course, and I think that's fine. I think
also creatively, it kind of limits you.
Exactly. So it's funny that you should say that, because on my last trip, I bought one camera and a 50 millimeter lens. That was it.
Well, there you go.
And I was told to do that by our photo guy, Chris Marquardt. He said it's a great learning experience, and it was. In fact, to add insult to injury, it was a manual focus lens. So beautiful. The whole point being, you got to take your time and think and compose and plan your shot. And,
it forces you to think.
Yeah, instead of, I mentioned this last hour, digital photography is essentially disposable photography because it's too easy. And
there's so many choices. It's like you go nuts trying to,
right.
all the options that they now make available.
I'm with you. Although I don't think I'll do it next time. It was fun. I got great, I have to say, and I haven't posted them yet, but I've been very happy with the images I got because it was a very good lens and a very good camera. Yeah. But I do, every once in a while I'd whip out the iPhone just to get a wide angle shot, I did kind of miss that capability. But no, you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. All right, let's take a little break. I'm going to go get a cup of coffee, and we'll answer more of your calls right after this. 8888, Ask Leo. So there are certain advantages, like this A9 that my lovely wife gave me. It has an amazing focus engine, and it has a button you can press. Well, I set it to be a button right next to the lens. You can press. And it will you point it, you put the red dot on somebody's eye, you press that button, and it will continue to maintain eye focus as the person moves around. And it's fast, it's responsive, it's very accurate. So it's great for portraits because normally with my manual focus, I'll focus it on the person's pupil of their eye. You always want that to be in focus. And then I can't move, and really they can't move. Especially if you're using a fast lens, that's that. I always do back button focus. So what I typically will do is I'll get focus on something and then take a few shots, right? But this way, I can move, the model can move, I can go around, and it will maintain focus. As long as you can see her face, it's somewhere in the field of view, it'll maintain focus on that pupil. It's little things like that are really handy, really nice if you're doing portrait photography, for instance. So that's the A9, and it has some really nice, it can shoot 20 frames a second. So it is really great for sports and action. And I have, what I don't have with the Sonys, alas, is the lens selection I have on other stuff. Lisa's got, because she's got a Micro Four Thirds, she's got an infinitude of lenses. Sony's EF lenses, they've been very slow to release them, and what I don't have is a long EF. But I have a fairly good selection. I have, as I mentioned, a very nice 85 millimeter f1.4 portrait lens. I have the what else do I have? I have 3 or 4 really good lenses. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. 8888 ask Leo. You could tell I like to talk about photography. Maybe a little too much, huh? Line 4, Joseph, Dalton, Georgia. Hey, Joseph.
Hi there. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for hanging on.
Well, don't tell Apple, but I'm using a set of Samsung earbuds here to talk to you all.
Shocking.
Anyway.
Shocking.
Yeah.
But you're not plugging it into the... Oh, maybe you have the adapter.
No, this is an SE, so it's still got the...
still got the headphone jack. The best reason to keep using an SE, boy.
Absolutely. I love the...
So mad at Apple.
Anyway.
So mad at Apple for that.
But anyway, I do have the 1809 update, and I can't say I'm having a lot of issues with it only because I did a clean install of it.
Well, and maybe that's why, there's no data in your documents folder to delete. So it worked fine. I did the upgrade in place on 3 different computers, two Microsoft and 1 Lenovo, without any trouble at all, and it's working perfectly. So.
Now, do you have a lot of stuff in your folders?
Not a lot of stuff, but I have. Well, I take it back because my documents folder is synced automatically. I don't have to. I'm not worried if I lose my documents folder because it's backed up. It's synced to my NAS. But there's a gigabyte in there. There's some data in there. Yeah.
Because mine's synced to OneDrive, and some of that I'm noticing lately they're syncing even the desktop to OneDrive, which I actually don't like. I've turned that off because my systems don't have exactly the same programs all the time. And
you don't want that synced.
I don't need shortcuts to things that aren't there from one system to another. Yeah. That's just a pain in the neck. But
you have to customize it for your usage, and that's a perfect example of you wouldn't want that synced.
But one thing I have to say is they're giving some of the screen readers a run for the money because I'm a totally blind user, and of course, you've seen Narrator. I've heard of it.
Yep, that comes with Windows. Yep.
Oh yeah, and they've since this last version of Narrator that I noticed, I saw it on the Insider preview, and I said, "Oh, let's see if it comes out on the 1809 one," and it did. The Narrator program actually gives you a brief tutorial when you start it. So that's a big help to get you up and running because Android gives you a tutorial on their screen reader, and so now you got one on the Narrator screen reader. So you kind of get an idea of keystrokes and things like that.
That's great. Yeah, and this new feature, which is coming soon, of having your Android screen echoed on Windows is going to be interesting, too. I wonder if that'll work with Narrator as well.
I don't look for it to, just because I have a feeling it's graphics based.
Yeah, it might just be an image. Yeah.
So, but that's not a big deal for me at this point. In fact, the computer I'm working on, the screen's messed up. I think my nephew stomped on it by accident. Something like that. So it still thinks there's a screen there, but you can't see it. So
dang it!
Although totally blind, it doesn't bother me.
Well, I was going to say that probably is fine, right?
I got 2 like that. The screens don't work, but the computer thinks they do. So
that's great.
It works for me anyway.
That's awesome. Give it to Uncle Joseph. He won't notice.
Yeah, there you go. Now, something I noticed, I haven't looked today. I'm going to go look. I went and you've probably seen this thing from, and I don't know how to pronounce it, Haydock or Haydock.net, the Windows ISO downloader. I don't know if you've ever seen that or not.
No, it's not from Microsoft. It's from somebody else.
Well, but it goes to Microsoft. It's heidoc.net. Give it a quick look.
Let me look. I would generally say don't go there. Just get it directly from Microsoft. There's always a concern when you're getting Windows from a third party that they could be modifying it. And then
theoretically,
the nice thing is Microsoft offers they call it now the media installer,
the media
creation tool, and it makes a USB key. It does everything. What does Haydock do that Microsoft doesn't?
I guess the only thing it does is it gives you the actual image from Microsoft, and it actually, one reason I can tell that it's coming from Microsoft is it says copy. You could download it with the tool, but I prefer to hit the thing that says copy link for 32 or copy link for 64-bit, and it copies to your clipboard the link to the download. And I've looked at it very carefully and verified that, yes, it does indeed come from Microsoft.
All right, that's good. You want to make sure. I don't know if Microsoft...
You can't be too careful.
Oh, really? In the open source world, when you download software, they do something called a hash, an MD5 hash, that you can see next to the app, and then you can verify it, because if the download has been modified in any way, the hash will be different. And so in the open source world, we say, because it really is, this has happened. It's happened recently.
Oh, yeah.
And it's really an issue, because if a bad guy can get his own software on your system, it might look like Windows. It might, in fact, be Windows with a little bit extra. That's a real problem.
Exactly.
I don't know. I think Microsoft does now offer a way to validate that download. This looks like a nice tool. It's written by Jan Krohn. It's published a couple of years ago, probably because the Microsoft Media Creation tool wasn't available yet. But it does do one thing it looks like the Media Creation tool doesn't do. It will add Office to the download. So if you're one of those people who wants to install Office at the same time you install Windows, that would be convenient. But again, I'd be very careful, especially since now you can get an ISO directly from Microsoft, and the Media Creation tool will turn it into a USB, bootable USB. Yeah. I would prefer to do it that way.
Yeah, that's probably the best way. Sometimes I'll even, if I want the ISO image directly, sometimes I'll even download it from Linux, because if you go into the Microsoft website from Linux, it will not. It doesn't offer you the Media Creation tool. You
just get the ISO.
Same from Mac OS, you just get the ISO. Yeah. So that's.
If people are comfortable with Linux, it's very easy to take any ISO and make a USB, bootable USB from it. So. I often do that as myself. For me, I'm familiar with and comfortable with the DD tool. So
exactly, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, have you got any old computers with the screens busted on them?
I'll send them to you when I do. Not yet. I don't have any nephews to sit on them, unfortunately.
Yeah, there you go.
My nephews are all on the East Coast. I don't have to worry about that. And my 15-year-old has stopped sitting on my gear. Hey, it's great to talk to you, Joseph. Thanks so much for the call. Yeah. No, but if I do, I'll let you know, Joseph. Yeah. The perfect use. I never even thought about that. But yeah, if you've got a device with a broken screen, I bet you there's a blind person who can use it. You might contact your local independent living resource center or Lighthouse for the Blind and say, hey, anybody want this? That's a great idea. 8888 Ask Leo. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. More calls coming up. Generation, yeah. See, I'm not crazy about this using some, but it does. One of the things it does let you do, it looks like, is choose older versions of Windows. But I really would love a way to validate that that's Windows. That makes me nervous. Everybody ought to know about Prylock. It is. This is a new sponsor on the show, and I met Dan, the creator of this, the other day, and it's something I think a lot of companies need. 91% of all successful hacks, including the Sony Pictures Entertainment hack, including the DNC, the Democratic National Committee hack, start with phishing emails. Actually, sometimes they call them spear phishing because they're targeted phishing emails. You've got to, if you're a business, you've got to train your employees on how to avoid getting your company hacked. They are the weak spot in your security. You can have everything out there, but you've got to train your employees on what to look for, how to be suspicious, how to be appropriately suspicious, and I've got the way to do it. Prylock Security. They offer a best-of-breed security training platform. I went through it. I wanted to, before we talked about this, I wanted to check it out. I actually learned a thing or two. It's really good. Dan says, well, a lot of this I got from you. Okay. It'll automatically create, enroll, manage, deliver, track, and report your phishing tests and security briefings. It's a complete portal for your business, and it is the most affordable solution out there. In most cases, 70% less than comparable programs. And part of the reason they can do it, and Dan showed me this amazing stuff they're doing with Amazon Web Services that save them money in serving this up to you. They have so many cool things. With Prylock's one-click setup, you can create a full year's training for 50 to 5,000 employees in less than a minute. You don't need to be an IT professional. It includes a bunch of really great stuff, including a 3-day baseline phishing test. They actually phish your employees, and they'll keep doing it. 24 random phish tests throughout the year, sending them emails that look real to see if they'll bite. And if they do, they get a page that says, you know what, you fell for it. Here's why this is not a good, you got to check. This is what you got to look at. In the security awareness training, which is, by the way, starts out with a nice lady and then it gets hacked. And the hacker teaches you exactly what hackers are up to, what they're thinking, what their motivations are. There's a 10-question final assessment for compliance mandates. It automatically enrolls clickers if you when they send out the random test in training videos if they fall for it too often. It reports email reports to admins and analytics in real time 24/7. It is so great. You need to train your employees what not to do. And it's not just phishing, it's just how hackers work. Things like a candy drop. Would your employee fall for this? He's walking out the door of the company on the ground. Look, there's a 64 gig USB. Somebody dropped their USB key or USB drive. Oh, that's nice. I'm taking that home. Plugs it in, hacks their computer. Then their computer hacks your computer, and you're out of luck. You've got ransomware. Send a friend a fish allows users to send friends or colleagues a fish and a learning page to show them what they missed. Prylock offers a 1-year security program for companies as small as 25 employees for $395. And they even have individual, you can get a single license gift card for mom and dad and grandparents to help them not get phished. Prylock.com/twit. Use the promo code Leo. You'll save 30%. Prylock.com/twit. Your company needs this. You might want to check it too. Prylock.com/twit. And use the promo code Leo to save 30%. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Thanks to Michael Cozio. He's our musical director. Spinning the discs. It's nice to see a young person who likes the old stuff. Thank you, Michael. Thanks also to Kim Schaffer, who puts up with me every weekend and answers your calls. Thanks to you, too. I'm glad you're here. We appreciate it. Every weekend, I'm going to help you with your technology. That's my job. Dave in Sarasota, Florida is next. Hello, Dave.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon to you.
Appreciate the call.
Appreciate it myself.
Trying to save some money.
Okay.
And renting some cars because we travel. And we love the CarPlay option that we get when we plug our iPhones in.
Isn't that awesome?
It is. I love it. And the challenge we've got is that we have 2 relatively recent cars that do not have CarPlay option. So I've been playing around trying to figure out how to use my iPhone to build a link to a Wi-Fi iPad while I'm traveling.
Oh, what a clever idea. You want to basically take the iPad as your CarPlay unit. Yeah.
Yeah. That way my wife and I can both see where the map's going and we can both agree. It's a much more pleasant experience. And but the problem I've got is that the maps on the iPad, even though I'm connected by Bluetooth or something, do not keep up with the travel. It's a Wi-Fi iPad.
You know why that is? That iPad,
that
iPad doesn't have GPS.
Does it have to have GPS in order to work like that?
So you're streaming the map from the phone to the iPad? No.
I'm hooking up the iPad as a hotspot to my
so you're using the yes. So that's exactly why. So this is unfortunately, and it's not an issue in the phone. Every iPhone has GPS built in. iPads do not, unless you get one with a cellular chip in it. The cellular chip is a single chip that has both radios for GPS and LTE. And so that's the problem precisely, is that the iPad, in fact, I'm kind of impressed that the iPad can kind of figure out where you are. It's doing that by triangulating Wi-Fi access points. And if you get out in the country where there's no Wi-Fi, you won't know where you are.
Well, it's a little slow. Sometimes you miss the turns before you realize the direction you were really going.
Your phone is reliable because it's using GPS. Your iPad is not.
Okay.
It does do location. It's actually a clever trick that Apple uses. Google used. It was a company called Skyhook that pioneered this. They drove a lot of cars around with GPSs and said, I notice when I'm 15 feet from Wi-Fi access point A, 12 feet from access point B, and 100 feet from access point C, I'm here. And it literally made a map triangulating all the Wi-Fi in almost everywhere in the country and then selling that to Google and Apple. Apple and Google now do that themselves with their own cars. But that's a very clever technology, but it's not perfect, obviously.
Interesting. So if I bought an iPad that had the GPS and a Wi-Fi iPad with the, well, it wouldn't be a Wi-Fi.
Yeah, your trick is your next iPad, and good news, Apple's probably coming out with iPads this month.
Right.
Get one with an LTE chip, then you don't have to, I mean, you're still going to have to pay for an LTE connection. That's a pain.
Right.
But you'll have, that way you won't have to pair it to the phone for the data, and it'll have GPS, so it'll be accurate.
Okay. Sounds like a solution. I thought maybe I was missing something.
No,
I was.
Yeah, it's too bad. It's just the way it is.
Yep,
yeah.
Not a problem.
Yeah, and the reason is it's very. Thanks for the call. It's very simple. The chip that Apple puts in probably was from Qualcomm. Nowadays, I guess it's from Intel. Is a dual-purpose chip. It does GPS and internet. And so they just don't put that in. Now they're gonna release. I'm almost certain. There's lots of evidence that they're going to release new iPads this year. Probably new iPad Pros. Remember that Apple's latest phones, all the phones this year, have a new interface. They don't have a home button. They don't have a fingerprint reader. They have Face ID, and they have new ways of swiping and swooping and looping to control the thing. Because you don't have a home button, so you swipe up to go home and all that. Apple's going to inevitably move everything to that, and so I think the first step there will be these new iPads that they'll release. Now, will they have an event? No one knows. There's no consensus on this. They are also expected to release new Mac platforms. Probably not the new Mac Pro, but well, I don't. We're looking for, frankly, a MacBook Air and a MacBook replacement of some kind, and that would also probably come out. New AirPods. There's some evidence that they're going to upgrade the AirPods. Yeah, partly because they've been deeply discounted by a lot of merchants, not Apple but others. That usually means, well, they're clearing them out for the new ones. So it's enough new stuff they could have an event, but my gut is they're not. They'll just appear. There'll be a press release. Most people think it'll be later this month, closer to Halloween. But if you're in the market for an iPad, it would be prudent at this point, or AirPods, or a MacBook Air or MacBook. It would be prudent to wait till the end of the month, see what Apple has to say. As usual, we have to wait, and they don't tell us. Let's see here. That was Dave in Sarasota, wasn't it? Yeah. Now I blew it. Sam in West Covina. Hello, Sam.
Hey, how are you, Leo?
Come on over. I'm well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you. Thank you for taking my call. Quick question, though.
Sure.
I just picked up an iMac.
Congratulations.
I'm a novice. Thank you. It's an incredible machine.
Oh, yeah.
PC all my life, so I don't know what the heck I'm doing with it.
It won't take long. They're not so very different. They all have the same heritage,
My kids are the one teaching me right now.
Oh, that must be fun.
Yeah.
Fun for them. Dad.
Yeah,
Dad.
Exactly.
You're so old-fashioned. That's funny.
To them, they get frustrated. I guess it's like a complete turnaround because now they're frustrated.
It is. That's good. Yes, it's good for kids to experience that sometimes, as long as they're not too disrespectful.
No.
We oldsters have something to offer too,
Yes. My question was, I'm a novice photographer, and the reason why I picked up the iMac was because of, well, number one, the screen and quality and the image and all that stuff. So
most photographers I know love the iMac. Yeah.
Yes, Nick, you tell me, bite the bullet and get it. So finally, I got it.
Good.
But just trying to figure out what is the best software. I don't want to dive into an expensive software.
Yeah.
For editing photos.
If you're a serious photographer, and I know you're just getting into this, my recommendation is the Adobe Creative Cloud for photographers. What you get from this is the top of the line tools for photographers, Adobe's Lightroom and Adobe's Photoshop. And you've heard those names. Those are normally very expensive programs, but it's only $10 a month. And I think that that's a pretty darn good deal. $120 a year. You can certainly get other things that are less. In fact, I would look at, now these are a number of apps that are both iPad and Mac now. Affinity Photo is a good one. Pixelmator is another good one. But the cream of the crop in photo editing is Lightroom. It's what I use, it's what most pros use. Apple used to make one that they gave away for free, which is called Aperture. Or no, I guess it was $80. It wasn't very expensive, but they killed it. As a result, Lightroom became the king of the hill. But there are other good photo editors, and maybe if you're just starting, Apple's Photos is enough. It does quite a bit of editing. Finally, I would probably say there is a great company that makes some really good stuff that you should check out. They changed their name, and I'm trying to remember. It used to... I'll tell you what, I have to take a break. I hear that music. When we come back, I'll tell you. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. I think $10 a month, though, is a pretty good deal, right? Come on, it was Skylum. That's what it's called, Skylum. So that's the new name for Mac Fun. And I think Mac Fun's Luminar is a pretty good choice. You could try it for free. I would say it's $59. It is probably as good as Lightroom for, until you get really serious. It's got a great, simple user interface. It's PC or Mac. And at $59, that's the king of the hill. So I'd say if you don't want to spend $10 a month on Lightroom, which is what everybody uses, and there's a certain advantage to that. It's also hard to use. Go to skylum.com and take a look at Luminar. They also have an HDR program that I use. I use both Luminar and Aurora HDR, and they're very good. I probably should just start telling people. The other thing, let's see, there's on Mac OS, there's Snapseed from Google, which is actually pretty good. Skylum doesn't do the one thing that Lightroom does that I think is important, and you see Scooter X is mentioning it. It doesn't yet do digital asset management. It doesn't. What Lightroom is designed to do is keep track of all your photos and then let you edit it. Luminar only has the edit part, but they say soon they're going to offer digital asset management that will let you keep track of it. And what's unknown is how will they handle that? Will they charge you for it? I don't know. But so right now what you'll use is Photos, Apple's Photos for asset management to keep track of your photos. And then use Luminar to edit them. And there's a fairly easy way to go back and forth. Skylum says free, good. Remember, Skylum charges you each year for the upgrade, which is kind of annoying. So Skylum, Luminar 7, or whatever it is, 2018, and then next year, 2019, they'll charge you another $59, which is, their way of kind of... But that's still half. Well, that's good. All right. I have Luminar 2018, so that's good news. Think they'll have an event, Mike B? It's unknown, right? One does not know. Leo Laporte, the tech guy. Wrapping it up for a Sunday. So we were talking about photo apps on the Macintosh. Our caller is a budding photographer, just got a new iMac. Wanted to know what the best choice would be. And honestly, it comes with Photos. Apple's Photos is pretty good. It has an edit feature, can do a lot of the things, basic things you want to do. I mentioned that the pros use Lightroom and Photoshop, and you can get that for $10 a month. You subscribe to the Creative Cloud, but you have to keep paying $10 a month forever to keep using it. The one other choice, and it's not a bad choice, is from a company called Skylum. They used to be called Mac Fun because they only made Mac products, but once they started branching out into Windows and Mac products, they changed the name, skylum.com. They make a really nice photo editor for $59 called Luminar. But Luminar doesn't do one thing that Lightroom does for your photos, which is keep track of them, organize them, put them in folders. And I use Lightroom, when I get back from my trip, and I use its organizational features and its upload features. And, it's an all-in-one tool. So for me, it's worth the $10 a month. But if you don't want to spend $10 a month, you don't want a subscription, I would look at Luminar from Skylum. But what it doesn't do is keep track of your photos. You'll have to continue to use Apple Photos to do that until Skylum offers a tool to do this, and they say they're working on it. In fact, I thought they'd have it out by now. They've been working on it for more than a year. It's a hard thing to do, I guess. They say it'll be free if you buy Luminar 2018. This piece is called a digital asset management piece, but really it's just a way of organizing photos, right? So it isn't yet quite the complete solution I'd like to see, but it is a very good photo editor that does a nice job. What's nice about it is it has push-button filters that are very easy to use, and then if you want to get more sophisticated, if you want to do Lightroom-style editing, you can do that as well. Pretty nice program. I'd be very content using just that as well. So from Skylum, SKYLUM.com, Luminar. It's free to try, so give it a shot. See if you like it. Ben in Bakersfield, California. Leo Laporte, the tech guy.
Hey, Leo. How's it going?
Wonderful. How you doing, Ben?
I'm doing good. So I recently upgraded to a Samsung Galaxy S9 Plus. Love the phone. But the camera program on it that comes generic is kind of junk. What else there is decent? There's so many of them out there.
There really are. And on the Mac, or rather the iPhone, I have some very strong choices like Halide, which I really like, Camera Obscura. On Android, let me look at what I got on here, because I don't think there are quite as many really nice choices out there. Cortex is the one that I probably most often go to instead of the built-in camera solution. It allows you to do some interesting processing, including remove motion blur, enhance shadows, things like that.
That would be amazing. The motion blur especially.
Yeah, because it's very easy. And
a lot of them are always moving.
Yeah, exactly. And what camera phones will do without telling you is they'll, in order to gather more light, they'll open it up, or they'll slow down the shutter speed, and you won't even know you're going to get blurry pictures until you look at them and go, wait a minute, those are all blurry. They don't really warn you. So Cortex is a good one. Actually, I'm gonna ask the chat room if they have any camera recommendations for Android. I actually use the on the Samsung. I replaced my S9 with a Note 9. I actually use the Samsung app. What is it? Too complicated? Too many widgets? Is that what bothers you?
Yeah, there's just like too much stuff there. I just want something that will take decent photos without having the constant motion blur. And if I take a photo outside, it doesn't, and it says a little bit too dark, it will actually use the flash automatically. Even if I turn it off, it says then I get a dark photo and it looks horrible.
Yeah.
So that's the reason why I want something that kind of will listen. Use the light that's there. And we'll get rid of the motion blur. That's the biggest thing, is the motion blur. That's constantly happening. Try
that then, Cortex, and then another one that I've used for years, and I haven't tried lately, is Camera FV5. It has a lot of manual controls. It may not be, they do have a light version you can try for free. It may be a little bit more fussy than you want if you don't want fussiness. Visco is still around. VSCO, the Visco cam for a long time was the best camera out there. Again, another one I haven't used in a while. I pretty much stick to the Samsung camera, or on the Pixel phone, the Google camera, and then Cortex if I need something.
Cortex?
Yeah, Cortex cam. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
There's a couple of good choices for you, and if anybody has a suggestion, I'd love to hear from you. You can either call 8888 Ask Leo, although we're in the waning moments of the show, so you might want to go to the website, techguylabs.com, and you can leave your suggestion in the comments. We have lots of good listeners out there who know a lot of stuff. I think FV5 I would try. I would certainly try Obscura, but I've been less motivated to try third-party camera apps lately because I think they just do a great job with the Samsung app. My only complaint is that there's way too much stuff in it. There's lots of filters, and beauty filters, things for, selfies and stuff that I just don't need, just don't use. Henry, Prescott Valley, Arizona. I think you'll be the last call of the day. Hello, Henry.
How you doing, Leo?
I'm well. Thank you.
We missed you so much.
Oh, no, you didn't. Rich DeMuro's great.
Rich is very good, but he ain't no Leo.
I won't tell him that. I'm actually going to see him today. He's going to be on our Twitch show. I won't mention that you said that. It's a secret. Look, actually, but it's gratifying because I don't want him to be too good. Do you know who Wally Pipp is?
Yes. He was the first baseman before Lou Gehrig.
Yeah, the New York Yankees. One day, gets a headache, says, "Boss, can I take the day off?" "Yeah, we got this kid, Lou Gehrig. We'll put him in. See you tomorrow, Wally." Except Wally never got to play again.
2,157 games later, it didn't work.
I don't want to be the Wally Pipp of the Tech Guy Show. What can I do for you, Henry?
Would you happen to know a good app for Mac or the iPhone which can identify the key that a song is played in?
Oh, what a good idea. No idea. That's an interesting one. There's these great programs like Shazam, which Apple just bought, and Google has its own built-in song recognition capability. But recognizing the key, that's interesting. I do not. Anybody have any suggestions? Chat room, any programs that can listen to a song and say, that's in the key of G? Are you a musician? Is that why, Henry?
Well, I'm preparing for next year's Americana folk music camp. So I'm one of the members of the Elderly Brothers and the Salty Dogs.
Yeah, I think we've talked to you before about this.
You sure have.
Oh, how fun. The Americana Folk Music Camp. And that's coming up, and you just want to get some songs. You know what I love is covers of modern songs performed as folk songs. I think I've always loved that.
Uh-huh.
It gives you a new appreciation. I heard, I think it was Roger McGuinn do Oops, I Did It Again. The Britney Spears song as a folk song was awesome. Our chat room.
Roger McGuinn was wonderful.
Isn't he brilliant? Key Finder.
Have you ever heard of?
Here it is on iOS. It's called Key Finder by Scoreless Music. How about that? Chat room again to the rescue. Thank you, Scooter X. I'm out of time. Have a great Geek Week. See you next time. Leo Laporte, the Tech Guy. Well, that's it for the Tech Guy Show for today. Thank you so much for being here. And don't forget, TWIT, T-W-I-T. It stands for This Week in Tech, and you'll find it at twit.tv, including the podcasts for this show. We talk about Windows on Windows Weekly, Macintosh on Mac Break Weekly, iPads, iPhones, Apple Watches on iOS Today, security on Security Now. I mean, I can go on and on and on. And, of course, the big show every Sunday afternoon, This Week in Tech. You'll find it all at twit.tv. And I'll be back next week with another great Tech Guys show. Thanks for joining me. We'll see you next time. What a cool program. Ever wondered what the key of a song being played is? Wonder no more. Just use, no. This is a little less automatic than I thought it was. Just use the built-in piano keyboard to play along with the song's melody as you confirm notes that coincide with what's being played. Key Finder will narrow down the number of possible keys a song is in, so it's not completely automated. We'll put Scooter X is finding more stuff. We'll put those all in the show notes. You found one too? What's that called? Key Detect. Key Detect. And that's iOS as well. Key Detect. Okay. Put them in the show notes.